All right, guys. So in this video, we're going to be going over a couple things that helped increase the efficiency of our outbound calling team, lead managers and cold callers, basically to help us double our lead flow and double our appointment flow into our business. Essentially, taking the hours called, hours worked per lead for cold calling from 4.5 to 2 hours worked per lead, and then the same thing for appointment setters for lead managers. It took that calls per appointment down from 125 all the way down to 60 and below. Now it's around like 40. So just to give you guys an example of what that does to your business, if you double the lead flow and then double the amount of appointments you're going to set from the leads you're getting, then in theory, you are going to be 4xing the amount of appointments you get from cold calling. So this is pretty worth your time. And we did this only utilizing 3 methods, right? So the first thing we implemented were morning huddles. We really optimized those. We installed and had the team do personal call reviews. And the last thing we did were weekly rewards for the best person or for hitting performing numbers or out beating performing numbers, right? So these are very simple frameworks and very simple things to go over. And I'm going to go through each one in great detail so that you're able to implement in your business like pretty much right after this video. But they must be done consistently and they must be done well, right? If you don't do it consistently, you're not going to get the results you want. And you also have to be straightforward with your team, letting them know the results that you're looking to get. Because if they don't know what they're working towards and they don't know why they're doing this, then they're not going to be bought in to actually go and execute this stuff. So without further ado, we're going to get into how do we run a good morning huddle. And essentially, running morning huddles is going to be about a 45 to 60 minute time frame for how we do it. So 5 minutes of good news for everyone involved. Then after that's 5 minutes of going over the KPIs. So these KPIs for lead managers would be calls, conversations, appointments. These numbers for cold callers would be hours worked, conversations, leads. And then after we do that, we're going to basically mark it green or red based on if they met or did not meet the daily KPI. If they did meet the KPI, then great. If they did not, it's a very important thing. You can address it there on the call in the morning huddle. But what has worked better was when we actually implemented doing that at the end of the day. So, for example, if I saw one of my guys who was red 2 or 3 days in a row, then at the end of the day or just sometime throughout the day, I'm just going to give them a call and be like, hey, I noticed that you're had a few red days in a row, and I just wanted to call and make sure everything was all right. And then they're going to basically talk to you about whatever it is, and you can basically go and coach them up, get them back to performing, and basically have a good accountability conversation there. But you're leading with helping them, not with, hey, you're not working hard enough, right? So anyways, that's reviewing the KPIs. After that, we're going to have about 5 to 15 minutes of whatever targeted training, like questions people have, like, hey, how do you comp this? Hey, is this a lead or blah, blah, blah? What do you say if someone says this? That kind of stuff, basic stuff. 5 to 15 minutes. Could be nothing, could be a little bit longer, right? Then after that, we're going to roll into about a 30-minute sales training. And you want to alternate between doing call reviews and role plays. So call reviews, you're just going to listen to a call that was 4 minutes or longer that did not result in the actual outcome you want, right? That's what I like listening to the most because there's the most room for improvement. Obviously, listening to calls that were a success is sometimes good, right? Because you can reinforce good behavior. Now, the other time you're going to do is you're going to role play the script and tonalities and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's going to be the other thing you're practicing. Now, when you want to do role plays versus when you want to do live call reviews, in my opinion, you want to do live call reviews is if your team already understands the script and the process very well. And obviously, if they don't understand the script or the process very well, then you want to do role plays. But call reviews are going to be much better for building advanced skills in sales. So that's what I like that for. And doing this every single morning for an hour has been a game changer, right? So your team gets way more trained up way quicker and they get up to speed a lot faster and they're performing way quicker. And you also build a system for accountability by looking at their KPIs and making them accountable for hitting their numbers and being green every single day. So that's the expectation. So the next thing we did, like I said, is we had basically assigned each person to review their own calls. Now, this was not forever. This was like a 30-day, 60-day thing because each person needed to improve individually in order for the team to improve their metrics, from 125 calls down to 60 calls or from the hours worked down more, right? So basically what we did is had each person on the team review 2 calls per day that were longer than 4 minutes long. And then the things they wrote down, and again, they wrote this in a group Excel sheet.
because it's just important for everyone to be on here so you have accountability for this getting done. So it's a group Excel sheet. They go down, write out the call they listened to, and they write out 3 things about the call. What they did well, because you want them to recognize what good things they're doing so that they can do that more, and you're reinforcing good behavior. And the more someone knows why they're successful, the more likely they're going to keep repeating those same activities. The other things were what they did bad and then what they were going to do next time they had that same situation come up. And so this is very simple. And most of the time when you write out what you did bad, it's very obvious. Like you feel like an idiot writing out what you do next time, right? But what it forces people to do is it forces them to be thinking, how am I going to get better and never make this mistake happen again? And so with them doing those things and writing all those things out, I'm not going to lie. When I saw the sheet, I did not look to see what they necessarily wrote down. I didn't really care. I just cared that they were actually taking the actions that were needed in order to actually get better. Because they're doing that, then they would learn on their own. Because if you hire good people who are smart and high achievers, then they're going to be able to take failure and make that turn themselves into successful lead managers, cold callers, whatever it is, right? So it's a very big pivot right there. I believe that was probably one of the biggest levers that we pulled out of these 3 things. The other thing we did was weekly rewards. And if you have people who are really money hungry, this is a very powerful thing. And a lot of times cold callers who are virtual overseas, this was a very big lever for that team when we pulled that. So what we did for cold calling was basically, you know how we look at the KPIs every single day. So we just established a weekly metric and said, hey, whoever has less than 2.5 hours worked per lead that you generate, you're going to get a $10 bonus. And literally within 30 days of implementing this one thing, our hours worked per lead went down from like 4.5 or 5 all the way down to like 2.6 or 2.7. And then so with further training, we got way down below that. But literally almost every single person was getting their bonus every week. And so hindsight, because one guy actually was getting like 1.5 hours worked per lead, hindsight, what I should have done to push people further is giving about a $30 bonus for if someone was able to break like 1 hour worked per lead. So that means they got a lead every hour they worked. And now you might be thinking like, what about the list they're calling, yada yada yada. And yeah, that stuff matters. But to be honest, the thing that matters most is if their conversations, are they converting their conversations into leads, yes or no? And if they're doing that, there's usually a lot of room to improve. And so our best guy had weeks where he was under an hour worked per lead with still really high lead quality. So basically take that into account, think about that. And that's something that I would implement if I had to do that over again, right? So for lead managers, we did something a little bit different. We made it more of a competition based, basically saying, hey, whoever is the number one lead manager and setting the most amount of appointments is going to get to spin a wheel. When they spin this wheel, they have a chance of winning $100, $50, $25, and $0. So, it's kind of a fun little thing that they get to do every Monday when they come in for the next week. And so it builds a little bit of competition and camaraderie, right? So I like that. That has been very beneficial for us. If you really want to, maybe you can make the wheel $200, whatever. If $100 is enough for you, but for the most part, $100 has been a pretty good award for most people to win, especially if they win that every week. That's an extra $400 a month. So those are a couple of the big things that we did in order to really drive things forward. And what I would say that if you can implement these consistently over time, then you'll probably see pretty similar results, right? And also, if you have good people in your team, they want to get better and they want to be challenged. So it's all about figuring out what's the goal that you want to hit, where you at, and then how can we bridge that gap, right? And so after we bridge this gap, the one thing you do have to be careful for is drop in lead and appointment quality. So you're going to be incentivizing your team to basically get a significant amount more leads and a significant amount more appointments. But what might happen is because of these bonuses, people get a little slack and a little lax on the quality that they're sending over. They might bend the lead rules. They might bend the appointment criteria rules, right? So what we did to counteract this was, one, with cold calling, by tracking our lead to appointment percentage. So how many leads turn into appointments? It's somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 20%, maybe a little bit higher depending on your company, right? But we drew our baseline, we had that, and we made sure that maintained the same as after week by week, month by month, after we implemented this
these bonuses, right? And so yes, there was a little bit of training initially going back and saying, hey, look, guys, remember what a lead is, and then keeping them in line. And then same thing with the lead managers is what we did is we graded every appointment, good or bad. The acquisition managers graded every appointment, good or bad, based on if they had motivation to sell or not. And so what we wanted to see was, did all of our appointments remain the same percentage good that they were before, and we were just getting more. And so again, same thing. You have to just train a little bit more and keep them a little bit more accountable to the actual appointment quality, but letting them open the floodgates and then refining back still gets you net way more good appointments than it did before we made that change. And again, just if you do want to have a rough idea, you should be around 80 to 90% good appointments, in my opinion. So, anyways, um, get more quality conversations out there with sellers, give more offers. And if you do want personalized help on how we implement things like this for other businesses, click the link down below. We do help tons of other businesses 2, 3, 4, 5, and even 6x their businesses on a monthly basis. So if that interests you, click the link down below. If not, stay tuned for more free content. Thanks, guys.